good afternoon, everybody, depending on where you're tuning in from. Thank you for attending today. So really happy we've got a record number of attendees on this webinar today. And I'm really excited. We're welcoming back Jannik Schumann, who's founder and CISO of Basec, which is actually spelled B-A-S-E-C, a company in Germany who works for small to medium-sized enterprises, cyber risk assessments, and what he's going to be talking about today is DIN SPEC 27076. So Jannik's going to talk about the ins and outs of this latest standard, as I mentioned, tailored for companies for 50 employees or less. As usual, we're going to have a Q&A session, so please, everybody, please put your comments, your questions in the comments section, and we'll pick as many of those up as we can at the end of the webinar. But again, welcome, Jannik, and I'm very happy to have you back, and I'll hand it over to you.
Hi, thanks, Borhan. And yes, DIN SPEC 27076 will help small businesses to boost their cybersecurity, bringing their IT security to the next level and protection against the threats from the internet and hackers. So this is what we are talking about today. My name is Jannik Schumann. I'm the founder and managing director and CISO from the Basec company in Germany, based near to Frankfurt. And before I founded Basec, I was within 𝗲𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃, the CISO, managing their IT security, and prior to that, I was within Accenture, the governance, risk, and compliance lead in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. So this already helped me a lot to gain insights into different companies, into different sizes of companies and challenges, which we have in Germany, but not only, also in Europe. And this cyber risk assessment, and especially cybersecurity, is one of the most important topics we currently have in Germany and also worldwide. So cybersecurity matters. Why it matters? Because of the digitalization, which is just starting to what is going to be in the future going to happen. Companies are digitalization their processes, and hopefully in the future, also our government will take place and part in this venture. And still, while doing so, you make your company or the government more exposed to the internet, and therefore your data and your assets are in an increased exposure against those threats coming from external. And due to digitalization and interconnectivity from your technologies and your processes, once an intruder is successful in your systems, they can cause significant damage, which is going up from year to year. This is what the report is saying, for example, which I brought here today. Cybersecurity Ventures report found that in 2020, we had damage due to cybersecurity crime by nearly 6 trillion euros, which will rise within the next 4 years, nearly to the double size, so to up to 11 trillion euros damage each year caused by cybersecurity crime. And this is really a huge number, not meaning that every company is taking part into it, but once you are part into this number, you really struggle to keep up with your business. And keeping up with your business, you can prevent yourself against those threats and risk by, for example, hiring security professionals, hiring externals to have cyber risk assessments done and help you discover the most important steps to do. But still, you have the problem that it's really costly, and finding cybersecurity professionals on the market is one of the toughest things you can have currently. So even though the government, Nancy Faeser here, for example, told this year on a conference, the government wants us, small companies and also medium-sized and big companies, to spend 10 to 30% of their IT budget on IT security measures. But it's a lot of money, and the more important question is, especially for small companies, on which areas I should spend this money. So maybe I have a lot of money here in my pockets and I want to do the right things, but I'm lacking of professionals in my company, or I have the right professionals, but still I want to challenge where I put my budget each year. And this is where the cyber risk assessment comes into place. It is really straightforward, just as easy as you can imagine. But we have also limitations. We have said that this assessment is meant to be for just really the small companies. The small companies means up to 50 employees. We want that this assessment does not take longer than 3 to 4 hours. And we want the results out of this assessment to really help effectively the companies to increase their IT protection by minimizing the cyber risk they are faced with. And still, on the next step, you can expand these security measures you put into place by also introducing ISO 27001 or the BSE Grundschutz, which are like huge frameworks which are really costly to implement, like the 10 times or 100-fold times as this new DIN SPEC 27076. But let's do a short overview what this new DIN SPEC 27076 can do and how it takes place. So we basically have 4 steps. An initial meeting where we talk the first time with the company. We have the cyber risk assessment itself, the second step, which is the assessment where we do the current as-is status assessment. Then we have the analysis, which takes place from the company who is doing the assessment, checking all the fulfillments. And then there is this result report, which is presented against the eligible persons in the company. But there are some of you guys are aware what cyber risk assessment is, and we have some difference here. So let's go into the first step, initial meeting. What we want to do within this initial meeting is a face-to-face meeting, either on-site or remote, to have a first conversation, what will bring the DIN SPEC 27076 for the company, and to understand what the company is looking into. Because this DIN SPEC 27076 is providing a guidance how this cyber risk assessment shall take place with these 4 steps, how the questions will be asked and which questions, and as well as how the report will be delivered, as well as which content it is in this report. And this will be roughly discussed in this initial meeting, where we discuss with the customer what the goal will be of the DIN SPEC 27076, what the cost will be, and this is maybe the most interesting point. We are here on an average 1 person day cost. So it could range, depending on the partner you decide to go with, from 800 up to 1,600 euros, which is so much less than what we see out there with like 10,000 bucks for a cyber risk assessment. And this is important to understand. The DIN SPEC 27076 forces the partners to do it within 1 person day. And this helps a lot to increase the efficiency, how it is conducted, as well as the small mediums to not spend so much money on the as-is assessment, but to spend it more wisely on the measures which will take into place. And which measures should be taken into place will be discovered in the cyber risk assessment phase, which is the second phase, where hopefully the CEO, but most importantly, the responsible IT manager, which actually said in small companies is the CEO, will be asked a couple of questions. It is 27 questions. Some of them have under questions. So in different areas, we have talked about it, 6 areas. And to prepare proper for this meeting, it can help to have some documentations in place. Just for example, the backup concept, security policies, if they are available. This is most important. Small companies do not often, or most often, lack of those documents, which is okay because documentation takes time and is costly. And what we want to achieve is effective security, which is not too much about documentation. It plays also a role, but which is most about how to put security measures effectively into place. So this is why there's no review of documentations. There will be no sending over of documentations. It is just this 3-hour or 4-hour appointment where we talk about what is going on. No information will left this meeting, and just the brief answers from the consultants conducting the assessment will be on a different side than the company. So highly trustworthiness. Then third step, analysis. This is where the consultant now takes the pointing scale, which is predefined on each question. And you have top requirements, which are 10 questions who are really high prioritized because of their cyber risk status. And you have regular requirements, which deliver with 1 point. So you can either achieve 1 or 0 point, or 3 or -3 point. But overall, you cannot have an answer result from an assessment which goes into the minus points. It actually said that the assessment conducted previously never seen that there was companies going like below a certain amount of points. So in this analysis, now the consultant goes with a rank for each question and also have the ideal recommendations in place what to do if this requirement in the company is not fulfilled. And these all put together will be the results. The report, which will be presented in a meeting, but also written in an DIN A4 report, in a Word document, which will be maximum 2 pages, easy to understand, management summary, and the Appendix A, the list of the requirements, the status, how to fulfill them, and the recommendations for action, what to do. And I guess the most important and interesting part for those companies, the Appendix B, introducing you to programs who can help you from a cash perspective to overcome the burden to spend this money and help you with money actually to fulfill those recommendations for actions. So what you get in the end, you have the result done, the assessment done, you have the Appendix A, which shows you on each question how you fulfilled it. You have recommendations for each question if you do not fulfill it to 100%. And you have the Appendix B helping you to understand if you are eligible to certain programs of funds. I guess it's amazing, right? But let's deep dive into the public grants, which are just, there's so many out there, okay? And I just here put on a slide briefly the most interesting one maybe, which I saw lately in the area of Germany, and especially in Germany, you have different countries which provides additional programs. So it is really important that your partner, which you, well, if you conduct this assessment, that the partner is providing you with the exact list. So we have now our Excel table, which has like, I guess, over 100 programs into it, and finding out the right public grants for the company is really important to help them to increase their cybersecurity, because some of the security measures, they can be costly. Some of them are maybe not. But if you want to reach a really high state of cybersecurity, it always comes with spending some money. So first, go digital, which is maybe one of the interesting one, where you can, especially for small companies with less than 100 employees and less than 20 million revenue, get this granted, and you can get covered 50% of your costs, which has a cut line on the personal or on the consultant daily rate charge. And you can do it on a certain amount a year. So this is 30 days within half a year, and then you can move on every half year with this spending. Then Digital Jetzt, which is a more broader program. And I guess which is important to recognize, they are all addressed with a certain end. So either the due date is achieved or there's no money left. So it's always important to check which one is important or most recommended for yourself, and if it's still eligible to you. Yes, and let me skip this. You can see this in detail on certain websites, especially we have our own website, DIN SPEC 27076 with the bit.me together. And there you can find an overview of all programs, which might be important for you. And there are also not programs, but also loan programs, which you find in the corner down. This is money you will grant it, but need to pay back with a certain amount and with since. All right, so I already mentioned what maybe tips or how you do it actually in a daily business, but let's phase it into a phase. So once you start with this DIN SPEC 27001 and you are coming as a customer and want to understand, well, you already understand it's important, cybersecurity, and now you want to understand which partner is the perfect one. So you maybe want to make sure to get certain offers and make to understand which is your perfect partner with the perfect expertise for you. So expertise is really important. If you're bringing a couple other eyes into your company, you want to have the best ones. You want to have those with a lot of experience who are maybe digital natives who can enable your business on a second level and also gives the right technology, which is important, addressing the right risks. If you found your perfect partner, go with the initial meeting, understand how they will provide you the insights, how they will do it, and then also maybe talk about the topics they want to discuss briefly with you and which documentations, or at least on which area you need to assess maybe people around you to understand how it is set up in your company. So not always you are the boss of your whole IT. Sometimes you have a dedicated employee. So make sure either this employee or the external one is in this meeting, or to get the information upwards to the meeting. Here on the right side, you can see, for example, and it's still an Excel and it always will be Excel, I guess, how it will look like. So you have the requirements, you have your questions dedicated to it, and you can see the points provided or granted if you fulfill this, and the recommendations which you send out if it's not fulfilled. Secondly, and I guess this is also really an important part, but this is not covered within the DIN SPEC 27076. If you now have your recommendations and you know what to do, you maybe want to prioritize and put it on a timetable to understand which one to do first, which one is most important, and maybe also to understand where more effort is needed to introduce it, or less efforts, maybe quick wins, and to which start with. So this is what will come if we do it. You will get from us this overview of which topic we identified within Gantt chart, where we propose you a project plan to fulfill those obligations. All right, and some tips. Make sure if you want to invest into cybersecurity, to do it in those topics who are matters the most to you. And this is from company to company different. So you cannot go ahead and say, okay, always do two-factor authentication on those systems. Sometimes, yes, it is eligible, but most importantly, as you are as a company in different areas active as your competitors or as other companies, or you just basically do things different, it is important that your expert is deep diving with you into your systems, understanding your whole ecosystem and maybe partners and boundaries of your companies to understand where the highest risks are coming from and how to protect you best against this. And if you're starting to grow, so maybe you are a company with 10 employees, or maybe you are already accelerated to a bigger one, make security a topic who matters to your employees. But if you are capable and if it's possible, get it to one dedicated employee, pay it a little bit more extra salary for that. But it's always good to have one person in the company who covers security, informed themselves about the latest trends and security practices, and gets your assets protected. Yes, and the last point here on the slide, this report can help you also for insurance to be on a lower rank from how too much money you need to spend for insurances, or you can provide it as an external assessment if needed to your clients who force you to enable the cybersecurity in your DNA. All right, just briefly basic. We are the founding member of the DIN SPEC 27076, which is make me really proud, and which the last year was really important for me to go ahead and find something which is more efficient than the BSc Grundschutz or the ISO 27001. So I'm really happy that we are now having this online, and I'm more than happy to have some partners already which are helping us to leverage this topic into the country and different areas. So thank you very much for listening to this webinar. We are now up with our time for, well, I'm talking just to you, and I'm opening up this area back, giving back to Burhan and maybe some interesting questions.
So thanks, Jannik. Really informative. Really appreciate that. So before we wrap up, we want to give everybody the opportunity for any questions they might have. So please put your questions in the comment section. If you can find that, drop your questions in, and we'll get through as many as we can. I've got a question for you. So with the advent of AI and technology and automations, how do you think this is going to affect cyber risk assessment?
Yeah, so this cyber risk assessment is starting to introduce small companies really effective to cybersecurity. Most of them know it matters, but it's getting more and more increasingly important, as we saw already in the presentation. So to overcome the first step, the first hurdle to do something, I guess this is the perfect start for companies to go ahead with cybersecurity.
Okay. Is there any examples how machine learning or AI is being used at the moment, or how it could be used in the future specifically for cyber risk assessment?
Yeah, for the cyber risk assessment itself, I guess you can challenge your systems, especially your technology, against AI pretty easily with security penetration testing. But once it comes to the area where dedicated expertise is needed because of the understanding of your whole ecosystem and the interplay of all your technologies, processes, and organizational units, it is always the human factor who will be introduced and will be eligible. So for the cyber risk assessment, which is human-based, we do one-on-one meetings. I guess there will be, in the near future, no AI. If there are any use cases, I'm more than happy to read them here. So let me know, guys, if there are, and let me know. So I'm using already a lot AI, and if you can leverage it here as well, I'm happy to do so.
Yeah. I think as the cybersecurity community matures, AI matures within that, I think we'll see a lot of changes personally. I can only see in my field how a huge part of our job, a huge portion of the time saving, and with me particularly, spelling mistakes can be fixed with AI, which is fantastic. So I really see the value in a lot of different ways. I'm really keen to see how that's going to shape particularly this area of cybersecurity. So we do have some questions coming through. I'm going to see if they're pinned on there. Can you see that question pinned on there, Jannik?
Hi everyone, isn't this the perfect task for Gen AI? So AI enriched with expert knowledge. Yeah, we talked about it. So I'm especially a fan, and I do it a lot. Beware of data governance, right, and protection. But if you're an expert, you can really help you to understand if you really covered every topic by getting a list by an eye about the topic you're talking and stuff like this. So really fan of this. And if you have more use cases, let me know, guys. I'm really keen to learn more about it if you have so.
Okay, great. Just before you jump onto that next question, so if anybody can contribute anything on that topic of AI, please send an email, LinkedIn message to Jannik or myself. It's a topic I'd really love to delve deeper into and explore a little bit more in the context of cybersecurity exclusively. So please do that. Got another question pinned for you there now, Jannik.
So this question is, what is your suggestion for startups when you frequently work with contractors for small periods of time? So if you are basically switching up your contractors easily, and maybe I guess for different areas of expertise, you choose contractors to work with. And now this question is, should you recommend hiring someone or outsource that topic? And do you have a basic checklist for validate that sanity level of security? So this is what I have already seen and already conducted, taking this assessment, cyber risk assessment, and put it into the contractors, so the external parties assessing their IT security, as it covers every topic, and as it is like just a 3 or 4 hours interview with the credible contractors. It is a really fast track to identify and understand whether their security is up in speed. But it's already a deep dive cybersecurity assessment, right? So if you want to put it on a more brief level, there are also possibilities to go with shorter list. I guess every security expert has certain understanding of what is most important and what to carry out as an assessment. So to understand and to interpret what your contractor is sending you back, and maybe you want to ask some deep dive questions. If you're working in a high sensitive area, it is recommended to have a cybersecurity expert. But to outsource that topic, I mean, it depends on how many contractors you assess. And if you have also other topics, this person can do. But to do it just for contractors reason and do it every time the same, I guess it's an easy topic to outsource, right? To your expert. Great question. Yeah.
Okay. Another good question we've got here. If you want to go ahead with that one from Lucas.
Yeah. So Lucas Brown is saying that the ISO 27000 was designed for large corporations. I fully agree. Since the 27076 was designed for small companies, where do you draw the line in terms of staff size? Yeah, for example, 50 FTE. And how to controls compare between the two standards? Yes. So great question. So where we end with the DIN SPEC 27076 is at 50 full-time employees. You cannot do it above if you want to stay within the DIN SPEC 27076. Those regulations do not apply for the ISO 27001. So you can basically do it if you're a one-size company, and often you do the ISO 27001, where it's like the 99% case, if your customer is requesting you to do so. And mostly it is an documentation norm. So I don't know how effective security is introduced into your company. So we have the same areas in the DIN SPEC 27076 as the ISO 27000. The 27000 in this latest version have 93 control statements. We have now 27, but which are covering the same topics. So you can say that we are not deep diving into so much areas on a deeper level, but we cover every area.
So
thanks, Lucas.
I've got another question for you. So with regards to the 27076 standard, how many companies do you think across Germany have this gap right now who urgently need this?
Yeah. In Germany, there are currently 2 million companies who are stated as a small, medium-sized company at a cap of 50 employees. And as I'm talking to a lot of them, but just briefly 1% or less, I see like most are interested in the cybersecurity, but are telling me that either their external IT partner is doing IT security for them, or they are doing it themselves. And if they are doing it themselves, like the CEO, it is difficult because of all the different topics they need to cover. You cannot go for a straight 4 hours workshop to deep dive into a really important topic. For example, to introduce two-factor authentication, understand the latest threats from the BSE or the European government presented. So yeah, I hope more companies are having experts into their own organization or letting external help them provide the guidance, what is really important and what matters most.
So the global standard of or universal standard of ISO 27001, is it necessary for the others? Is it necessary if you've got the ISO 27001 standard to have the DIN SPEC 27076?
Yeah, no, they're totally not related to each other, even though they are both covering cybersecurity and the same topics. You can go for both. You can start with the ISO 27076, which is a more easily one to achieve, and then go the next step to the ISO 27001 once you already have established all the recommendations from the ISO 27076. You will more easily get into the certification of the ISO 27001. Definitely.
So for a company looking at the 27076 standard, what are the implications to that company if they don't do it? What are the risks and dangers?
Yeah.
I would say what.
So first of all,
not from just a cybersecurity perspective, because that's, we could write a book on that together. But I'm thinking more from the supplier, customer, or legal perspective. What doors is that opening, and what doors is that closing?
So as of now, you do not get any disadvantages from not introducing the ISO 27076 into your company, but it will help you a lot against your bank, against your insurer, against if something happens, you can still say, hey, I just did this assessment and still we got hacked. We did our best. And this is always a good argumentation against your insurer or your clients. In comparison then to say I didn't do anything in written or do not have anything done. So this is so cost efficient and easy to do, I guess, showing your clients that you are into cybersecurity and maybe doing it also on a regular term. It is the most easiest way and to get most security out for your company.
So it seems like for a small business, to me, from sitting from here, it seems like a no-brainer to get a very quick turnaround, have an expert come in and strengthen your security, and it looks great to your customers and your suppliers as well, because it shows you're taking the right steps. So in reality, I guess the next logical question for me to ask would be, maybe if you could give us an example of where you've you've done one of these and what the impact actually was for a particular company. I mean, I'm not asking you to name a company now, but if you could give us a real life example of that, that would be great.
Yeah. Before I do so, I want to hang on this what you have said. So also from a sales perspective, it is really interesting. Just imagine you are straight ahead of winning a big client, and now this big client wants you to provide you with cybersecurity improvements that you need to do. And we are capable with this cybersecurity assessment within, let's say, 1 week, provide you with the full guidance of what is the current state, and also what is your roadmap to introduce cybersecurity at the right level. And this is the maximum a client can ever ask to receive from you at this stage. So this is perfect for you, the most cost-efficient way than to do it on your own. So
that actually sounds amazing, because many a time, me and my colleagues and I personally, from a personal perspective, I've been bogged down with filling in all sorts of forms around policies, procedures, regulations in order to get the custom, get the business. And I know some of these things have been months and years in the making to meet the sort of requirements we have to have. Everything from accounting to security standards. So the fact you can turn it around in a week and you can provide them with a roadmap sounds absolutely phenomenal, unheard of before. So I guess there's a lot of benefits to it. So just to go back to my question, is there a real life example that you can give us where you've implemented a strategy and what the actual impact of this is? Because I'd say we want to see proof, you know?
Yeah. So most interestingly, what we most often see is that if you talk to a CEO of a small company who is covering cybersecurity themselves, they do not look into every area as a security professional does. So what we see, or what I've seen, and which is really common, is that they, for example, totally underestimate how important two-factor authentication for their own account or their administration account is. So once they put it into place, they already achieved a really higher cybersecurity, which I really love to see. And it's a big aha effect every time we talk about that. So I think so.
Okay. So I think we've got one final question for you there, pinned from Dirk.
𝗲𝗅𝗶𝗿 requests a high-level checklist. Good point. From the DIN SPEC perspective, we are not allowed to provide you with the list because of the procedure you shall go through. But if you like to have a checklist, high-level one, contact me afterwards. Write us an email, either Burhan from DIN or me from Basec. We will see and get you around with a list that will help you to your special purpose.
Okay, so I think we're pretty much done for questions. If anybody's got any other questions that come to mind afterwards, please reach out to myself or Jannik directly. We will provide a full recording and slides, if that's okay as well, Jannik, for us to share, if that's all right. There's been a request for the checklist just now as well, so if we can maybe put together some kind of a document or put it on the end of these slides, I'm happy to share that with Jannik's permission to any of the attendees who made it today. So if you look out for the recording, we will send you a message for anyone who's registered, anyone who's particularly made it or not. As long as you've registered, you will get a link to the recording very, very shortly. But other than that, I think we'll wrap it up now, Jannik. Thank you again very, very much for your time. Super duper interesting topic. Really looking forward to the next one that we might do. So we'll think of some topics, maybe something around AI. That seems to be really, really interesting. A lot of conversations around that. If anybody else is watching and has a particular topic they want to they want to discuss themselves or put somebody else forward for, more than happy to accommodate that and listen to every idea that comes through. But other than that, guys, wherever you're tuning in from, have a good morning or a good rest of your afternoon or evening. And please look out for the next messages from Zinc and Basec. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye to around the world and have a great one. Thanks for listening.